Well guys, this morning we got a unit in. It's an older unit. It's a 93, I believe, 94. It's having a hard time starting, so we're gonna go ahead and we check this one, and all I come up with is we got faulty glow plugs. It's having trouble starting up on the first start, and after that it'll crank right over every single time. So I'm gonna go ahead and replace the glow plugs on this one and the harnesses, and I'm gonna go ahead and do that solenoid for the glow plug. So let's go ahead and start tearing this one apart and get those glow plugs in place. On this one guys, we're going to have to remove this ECM, of course, back bracket, remove that little bracket where the solenoid is bolted onto, remove that valve cover to be able to get to all those glow plugs and harness. So let me go ahead and start tearing this one apart. Well guys, now that we got the ECM out of the way and the glow plug heater solenoid moved out of the way, and now we got to get this valve cover. As you can see, I mean, it's got half-inch bolts. It's got this little bracket, and this little bracket that hold the bracket for the ECM. That comes off, and then we got, say, roughly like 11, 12 bolts holding this valve cover in place. So once we get that out of the way, you'll be able to see the rockers, injectors, and of course the little heater elements or the glow plugs. So I'm going to go ahead and get to removing this so we can go ahead and expose the area where we're really going to be working on. Alright, we're going to get this done. Well guys, valve cover's off. Glow plugs are down here. I'll see if I can get you a better picture, but I mean, all it is basically, let me get a new one. Hold on. Well guys, let's go ahead. These things are in between this little rocker and this connector. You see that little white wire? That's what plugs into this part of the glow plug, and the glow plug actually threads into the head and goes into the actual cylinder. So let me go ahead and start removing these little things. I am going to inspect that harness, make sure the harness is okay before I decide to leave the old one or replace it with a new one. It all depends on how they look, but most of the times, I mean, we don't replace them. Those things hardly ever give out, but who knows. The one thing we are going to change is, of course, that valve cover gasket. So let me go ahead and get these removed and go ahead and start installing these back in. I'll show you I'll compare this new one to the old one so that we can figure out, I mean, kind of see what the probe looks like on a glow plug that's been there for years compared to this nice little clean brass colored one. Alright guys, let me go ahead and get to turn this one apart. What we do here guys is reach in with a pair of needle nose pliers and disconnect this little connector. Get that out of the way. Standard little 10mm socket deep on a little 1/4 inch ratchet. Get that in onto the glow plug, and basically it's kind of like if it were a spark plug. You just remove it real quick. Oh guys, before I forget, sorry about that guys, you do have to kind of loosen up that rocker, because when you're trying to pull out that socket, it'll hit that little cone, little recess where the push rod actually goes onto the rocker, and it won't let you pull that socket out. So I just loosen it up a bit so that I can go ahead and get the the rocker kind of pushed off to a side, so that it will allow me to remove this. There we go guys. A little bit of oil does go into your cylinder when you remove these. It's minimal. I mean, first time you crank it, it might hesitate just a bit. It might smoke a little bit, but I mean, it'll go back to normal in a couple of minutes. So we're not too worried about that. So this is the old one, and this here is the new one. So I'm going to replace this one, and we're going to do this for the rest of these. And then we gotta get this little connector back in its place. And that's it, we're done. So let me go ahead and do the rest on our time lapse and get this one done. Well guys, if you can see, the first glow plug is the one that's a little bit harder than the rest because of the alternator and all that wiring harness that's in the way. But we got these done. Let me go ahead and get that valve cover gasket so I can replace it, and so I can go ahead and put this back together again. Then we'll go ahead and tackle that little solenoid on top. Alright guys, give me a bit. Let me get the parts ready. All guys, on this one, we don't have the valve cover gasket in stock. I believe I'm going to go ahead and leave this one alone. I'm going to go ahead and reuse that gasket. I think it'll work. It wasn't leaking or nothing. I'm going to hope for the best and hope that everything works fine. So let me go ahead and start putting this one back together again.